That's still part of phase one. That should be brought still part of phase one.
She'll tell you.
If three of you say.
Good evening. It is 5:30 or just a minute past, and we're going to call the meeting to order. I would invite you to turn your cell phones to silent or vibrate, and then let's all please stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens.
Here.
Councilmember Strebe.
Here.
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 25 on August 2nd, 2016 is presented. Civil Service Commission eligibility list from August 11th, 2016. Equipment operator entrance, equipment operator promotional, and utility worker entrance. Purchase of 6 tasers with batteries and holsters for a total cost of $6,313.68. Agreement for the maintenance and repair of primary roads in municipalities between the City of Ottumwa and the Iowa Department of Transportation, and authorize the mayor to sign. Resolution number 202, 2016, approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance for Contract A, concrete repairs for the beach renovations Phase 1 project. Resolution number 203, 2016, approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance for Contract B, slide repairs for the beach renovations Phase 1 project. Resolution number 204, 2016, approving the contract, bond, and certificate of insurance for Contract C, parking lot renovations for the beach renovations Phase 1 project. Resolution number 212, 2016, setting a public hearing on the council's intent to sell city-owned property at 343 East Park Avenue, Ottumwa. Set September 6, 2016, as a public hearing on the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for Contract D, general building repairs for the Beach Ottumwa renovations Phase 1 project. Beer and/or liquor applications for Happy Joe's Pizza, 315 Church Street, outdoor service area. Tuscany Restaurant, 808 Albia Road with outdoor service area. Elks Ottumwa Lodge, number 347, 413 South Iowa Avenue with outdoor service area. And Walmart Supercenter, number 1285, 1940 Venture Drive, all applications pending final inspections.
Move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Take the roll.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
We need approval for tonight's agenda. Is there such a motion?
Mayor, I would move for the first that we pull a couple of items from the agenda that aren't quite ready. One, I believe, is H3. Is that right?
G3.
G3 and
H7.
H7.
So your motion is to approve the agenda with those 2 items.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Take the roll.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Item D on our agenda is reports from city officers, commissions, and committees. Tonight we have with us Mike Bainbridge and Eric Johnson. So Mike, you're the manager at the airport. Why don't you give us a setup and then we'll hear from Eric.
Okay. The basic scope behind this is just to give you kind of a follow-up of where we're at on the 1331 project and also the grant funding we have received from the state. More or less just an update of our funding. Then next week we'll have, or next meeting, we'll have the update from the advisory board or the FBO.
Okay.
Oh, good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for having me here tonight. We really appreciate this opportunity to give you an update. I'm going to be focusing basically on 3 primary projects tonight. One is, as Mike mentioned, the runway rehabilitation project for runway 1331, which is our primary runway at our airport here in Ottumwa. The next update will be on the apron project that we just completed with the DOT grant that we were fortunate to receive. And the last item I'm going to brief everyone on is just we've gotten word that the DOT has put our fuel project that we applied for on an approval list. So we will be receiving a grant for that project as well, which is very good news. So outside of that, I'm here for you tonight. So if there's other items, you may have questions about on the airport, but these are the three primary projects we'll be talking about. Besides that, we've been doing an awful lot of planning for hangar locations, working with the FAA. We've actually made a trip down to the FAA in Kansas City and spent a couple hours with all of their staff and their managers, and even including the regional manager, just to give them an idea of what we have coming up for projects, as well as educate them quite a bit on what we have out here at the airport. Because with the jets that we have based here, that kind of puts us into a higher priority with them. So they need to understand, what we have going on out here. So anyway, with that, we've been working basically ahead of the grant, what we call in the 1331 project. The FAA's got this project scheduled for next year, but we're also working ahead, doing some preliminary planning, some preliminary engineering that will be reimbursable at 90% grant funds once the project becomes, FAA approved, or they've approved it for the grant. So anyway, one of the first things we did, we wanted to see what the condition of the pavement was at the airport, and primarily our runway 1331 project. So we went out and we did a pavement analysis. We physically took about 50 paving cores throughout the runway and the apron areas. What we found was pretty typical for a World War II type base. The concrete's 70-some years old. And through over time, there's been several layers of asphalt placed on top of that concrete. The concrete actually was surprisingly in pretty good shape when we got through the asphalt. And the thickness ranged from about 9 inches to about 14 inches, which is very common for a World War II base like that. Back then, they didn't really worry about grading particularly. They had a lot of material and a lot of manpower, so when they had to adjust a grade, they pretty much did it with the thickness of their pavement. And right above the concrete, there was probably a total thickness of about 7 to 8 inches of asphalt put through in 2 different layers or 2 different lifts. The top, about 3 to 4 inches of the asphalt is pretty well deteriorated, oxidized, which means that the sun has hit it for a long time, and it's caused the oils to strip away from the aggregate and is really in poor condition. The pavement below that, the asphalt below that, surprisingly in good condition. We do have about where the runways meet in the intersection there's about 3 locations where we've got actually the total pavement section, including the concrete, has failed. So we're going to definitely have to totally remove that place or remove that pavement and replace it at the time of the project as well. One of the things the FAA is going to want us to look at now that we've got all this information and we assemble it into our preliminary engineers report, they're going to want to look at several options with that runway. Are we going to totally reconstruct it? If we do, we have to justify why we're going to be taking out probably good pavement that could be, some type of overlay could be placed over it. They're also going to be looking at what's our best option for an overlay? Do we want to look at a concrete white top overlay? versus reconstruction, or an asphalt overlay versus reconstruction as well. We've done a lot of white topping projects at similar airports where we've actually come in with 6 or 7 inches of concrete. When we remove that old asphalt that has been deteriorated, and that has proven to be a very excellent long-term solution, where it saves a lot of extra cost in ripping out a lot of old pavement that, you know, probably doesn't need to be ripped out in certain areas. So that's one option. And again, right now, what we're doing is we're assembling all this information. The other thing we're doing, again, working ahead of the grant, positioning ourselves in a good position so when the funds do come, we're ready to go. A project of this size, we will be looking for 3 sources of FAA funding. One is your, what we call general aviation entitlement money, which comes to the city each year, $150,000. And you can bank that or use it up to 4 years, not to exceed a $600,000 amount. The other part of the project will be funded by state FAA money that the state of Iowa gets. And the last part will be funded with what we call FAA discretionary money, which is a pot of money that the FAA Central Region in Kansas City gets, which the state of Iowa is a part of, and they can, at their discretion, take and put money, you know, towards various runway rehabilitation projects. So with those discretionary funds, we're usually competing with a lot of larger airports like Des Moines, Kansas City, St. Louis, Omaha, and those other big airports that are in the region that'll be looking to utilize those funds as well. So that's another reason we're pushing forward with this. Right now, in our preliminary discussions with FAA, when the master plan was done, there was a potential to reduce the runway width because of the type of aircraft that are coming into Ottumwa and that are based here. I'm personally not a big fan of that. I kind of like to maintain what we've got. And I think what our last meeting with FAA and my last discussions with them is, for this first phase of the runway rehabilitation, we're going to leave it at the same 150-foot width. Another plus is the lighting that is not really that old. So when we reduce the runway width, we have to move all the lights in, and that becomes, you know, a very expensive part of the project as well. So the first phase is, again, to basically rehab what we have, and it'll be, there's some other issues too, real quick. Our centerline crown of the runway has failed or is not really existence. It's flat, you know, like when we drive down a street, we like to see the center of the crown, you know, kind of at the high point where our drainage drains off into the gutters, where we've got about the first, about where the yellow mark is, where it says runway 1331 improvements. We've got about 4 locations in there that during big rain events that pond water actually in the center line of the runway. So that's not a really fun ride when you're in a jet and you get a big splash of water when you touch down. So we're going to also be improving that with this project. And then I think that's pretty much the overview. I'm going to provide, once the FAA has looked at the preliminary engineer's report and given us feedback, I think that's the time I would like to provide the mayor and city council and staff with a summary report of that. If I could get the next slide, Tom, that would be great. The next project I'm going to talk about is an apron project that we're really pleased about. This was with a DOT grant we received last year. We wrote for the city. And the one nice thing about this was the DOT has a brand new person in charge of FAA or aviation funding up there in Ames. And through my conversations with him, we were able to actually get him down here and make a site visit. So he spent a lot of time around the airport and seeing what was happening. So anyway, this project turned out very well. I know Mike's got it on the agenda, I believe, later for project closeout. So, and then the last project, and then I'll open it up to questions or anything you'd like to talk about. But the last project, we wrote a grant this fall for improvements to the fuel system, which is going to be a big improvement, you know, for the number of jets that come in and out of here. And with this new system, it'll also have a card reader. So on the weekends, if you're FBO or somebody might not be at the airport, it's time somebody wants fuel, they can just swipe their credit card and self-serve their aircraft with fuel at that time. So again, we just got word that project will happen, and we're very excited about it. Also excited about other, everything that's happening out there. So that's about the 5-minute summary that we wanted to discuss real quick, and now I'd certainly open it up for any questions, comments.
Are there any questions or comments? Mark?
I have one. You going back to the first bit, you were talking about the width of the runway. Just looking at future potential growth at the airport, would shortening or reducing the width of the runway, would that impact in any way the type of airplane that could land there?
Not in this real day and age, Mark, because most of what, manufacturers are going towards, especially in the jet, business type aircraft, they're making things, lighter, smaller, still being able to carry the same amount of passengers and still being able to operate off of the runways, at a 100-foot width versus 150-foot width. We've spent a lot of time with the various users of the airport, especially the jet pilots and aircraft owners, and they really don't have a problem. Hello? Oh, there I am. Yeah, so we've spent a lot of time with them and their charts and everything. That would not be, an issue for them, and it would not really affect anything potentially. Myself personally, doing this for 30 years, I don't like to see things, shortened like that or narrowed. Kind of personal preference, I guess, FAA's got their design criteria these days that says that's what width it should be ultimately, but
I would just fear that might impact like like a FedEx plane, for example, not being able to land here. That was kind of where I was going with that. Sure.
Yeah, and I don't think it'd really be, if it ever became an issue, we would have to show the FAA, and that's why I'm glad that we're going to at its same width now. That's going to give us time to, do some updates to the forecast and look at various aircraft that may need that in the future. So we can show FAA we really need to keep it, But I agree. I'm not a fan of that. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Eric?
Eric, you mentioned
Yeah.
jet fuel system, the card system. Is this also going to be available for the regular jet or airplane fuel?
Good question, Skip, and I'm glad that you reminded me of that. Yes, it's also going to be, we're going to take the old jet tank that's there now, and we're going to do some modifications to that because the tank's in very good condition, and it meets all the requirements for, SPCC requirements, and, it's double walled and in good condition. So yeah, both the card reader will serve both the 100 low lead and the Jet A.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think just for the public's information, Eric is a pilot as well as a civil engineer, and we value his pilot experience because he's flown into hundreds of airports around the country, and I think we're fortunate to have somebody with both the engineering background and the actual pilot navigational experience. So we'll look for a lot of recommendations from you, and we want to make this airport the best airport in the state. So.
Oh, I agree. It's a great facility. Like I said, the thing that really, when we met with FAA and I was talking with them about the activity, because everything they do and justify where they put their money is, what do you have for activity at your airport? You know, if we have 100 little Piper Cubs, that doesn't sell very good, even though they're a great little airplane. But when you start saying, hey, we've got 7 or 8, probably the potential for 10 base jets, you know, they really...
Pay attention.
Yes, exactly. It's really, so we're excited for all the opportunity that's happening out here.
Any other? Okay, thank you very much, Eric.
Well, thank you.
Dates from you later on.
Thank you.
I think at this point, City Manager Andy Morris wants to make some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of updates, 3 items that upcoming dates. First of all, tomorrow night at 5 o'clock in room 108, the Solid Waste Commission is meeting. Again, that's tomorrow night. Another one to bring your attention. You may recall at the last meeting we had, the special meeting, we had Cody Gunniston, a representative of the Buxton Group, and he put forth a strategy and package for the city to consider how to recruit certain retail entities. There's another entity that is out there, Retail Coach, and I've had some correspondence with them. As I shared with the mayor, I was very impressed with Cody's presentation, and based on the feedback I've received from council, I believe they are as well. However, there is more than one entity out there. I've asked my contact person, Byron at Retail Coach, if he could appear at a special council meeting. I would like to schedule that, if it's all right with council, on August the 30th. That would be, again, a special meeting. He will give a presentation as to their retail recruitment strategy. I have some questions I put forth in a conference call to him, and we'll provide more information to you coming up to that meeting. And finally, I know this is an item that we didn't think was going to come into the fall, but we're getting to the fall, and that's the community meetings. You may recall the last meeting we had, I thought, and those that attended, both the council and staff, was a very good meeting at the Towers. I spoke with Reverend Bick at the New Life Center, and we have a community meeting scheduled for September the 7th. That church is located on 914 East Elm, and again, the 7th, that is a Wednesday. That doesn't cut into his services, he said, but that is scheduled for that evening. And again, like we did the last meeting, have that at 7 p.m. Same thing. Staff will introduce a few topics of consideration, then we'll take questions and comments, certainly from the crowd. If you have any questions on that, let me know, but that's all I have now.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you.
Item E is an opportunity for citizens to comment on any item that's on the agenda. Anyone made themselves known or would like to address an item on the agenda. There's also a public comment at the end of the meeting, and we have one for that. Okay, we'll move into department recommendations. Item F.
Consideration of Drug Hotspots Grant Program. Recommendation, authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This grant is for funding to assist with projects involving the Southeast Iowa Interagency Drug Task Force. The task force has been awarded $16,586 to help pay for overtime for mid to high-level methamphetamine investigations. The Southeast Iowa Interagency Drug Task Force includes the counties of Davis, Keokuk, Wapello, and Van Buren, and the city of Sigourney and Ottumwa. The city of Ottumwa is a legal applicant for the grant. There are no matching funds required for this grant.
Are there any questions of the chief about this? Pretty straightforward. Hearing none, then let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and
Thanks,
date
Chief.
set for a public hearing on the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Sanitary Utility Access Program 2016. I've received no objections on this item.
Okay. Good evening, Larry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is our annual project that will install sanitary manholes in places where we have limited access to our sanitary system or manholes that are failing. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on August 31st, 2016 at 2 p.m. A bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented to the City Council September 6th, or at a later date is determined by staff. We budget $50,000 annually for this program.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this particular item. Okay. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So
move.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 201, 2016, approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Sanitary Utility Access Program 2016. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 201, 2016.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 233 South Ward Street. I received no objections on this item.
Good evening, Jody. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. 233 South Ward is a placarded house, and the city accepted sealed bids for the sale of it until August 9th. We received one bid in the amount of $1,000. It was from Eric Gonzalez Chavez, and we are recommending this evening that the city sell this property to him. The buyer is going to pay all the costs of conveyance, and that includes the property taxes that are owed on the property, which are over $3,000.
This also is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wants to address the council on this item? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Second, or yes. Sorry.
Resolution number 211, 2016, accepting the bid and approving the sale of city-owned property located at 233 South Ward Street to Eric Gonzalez Chavez for the sum of $1,000. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 211, 2016.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
There we go.
Any questions for Jody? Seeing none, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Resolution number 200, 2016, fixing an amount for abating a nuisance against certain lots in the city of Ottumwa, Iowa. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 200, 2016.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Jody, go ahead.
Well, we have 4 properties on this resolution where the city abated the nuisances and then billed the property owners, but these 4 were not paid. Total assessment costs are $6,185.23, and we would like to go ahead and assess these to the property taxes.
Any questions for Jody?
Are these all on one owner or multiple owners?
No, multiple owners.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Resolution number 205, 2016, approving a contract with Wood River Energy LLC to supply natural gas to certain city-owned buildings. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 205, 2016.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second?
Second.
I think, Andy, since Joni is not here tonight, are you going to field that? Thank
Well,
you.
thank you, Mayor. Just a summary on this, council. I know staff has talked about this previously. First of all, a couple of points. Wood River Energy is a third-party natural gas supplier, and they work directly The bills in and of themselves are not going to change. We will still receive bills, invoices, again, from Mid-America Energy. They're able to purchase gas on the open market. In addition to that, they're able to purchase it at a cheaper price for excess gas that is left over. There are certain savings that entities have received. I won't list all of them, although I was visiting with Scott Holgren, Bridgeview Center just today, and I think the estimated savings on one annual bill was a little over $2,100. It was initially a 3-year contract. That was an item that Ms. Keith recommended we put that to a 1-year contract, so it's actually a staff and council an opportunity to see whether or not we are in fact achieving cost savings. It is a 1-year, quite frankly, trial period, but staff recommends that council move forward on this item.
Are there any questions for Andy? I would comment to the council that we've investigated and done some due diligence, and other cities are claiming this to be very helpful to them as they look at their budgets. So I think the 1 year gives us plenty of time to assess this and make a decision.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
City Administrator Morris, was that a $2,100 annual savings in Bridgeview? That was the entire year?
That's correct, Councilman. That's a $2,100 savings. They indicated that on some of their other bills. There's also, not to get too far into this, but there was also a chance, I should have mentioned when we talked about they're purchasing natural gas on the open market. You can either, for lack of a better term, play the market, where you're trying, it's almost like a stock purchase where you're trying to guess what that price is, or you can have a fixed price at that, I think 5% discount on natural gas. As Keith put that 5% in there, just quite frankly to be safe, so we're not playing the market, but we would receive that going forward.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution number 206, 2016, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving final pay request for the apron improvement project at the Ottumwa Regional Airport. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 206, 2016.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second. Thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Change order number 1, adjust the original proposed quantity and added 540 square yards at a cost of $34,560 in order to maximize the state obligation, originally up to 85% of the project cost, which was $218,875,000 maximum match. That made the new contract total $255,172, and that got us $216,896 from the IDOT grant at 85% and $38,276 from the airport fund balance.
Are there any questions for Mike? Seeing none, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Resolution number 207, 2016, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete with final pay request number 4 for the Jefferson Drainage Ditch Reshaping Project 2015. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 207, 2016.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This project was for the reshaping of the Jefferson Drainage Ditch from approximately east of Gurley Avenue to Webster Street. The project was awarded to Drish Construction of Fairfield, Iowa, on November 3rd, 2015, in the amount of $196,535. Change order 1 makes the following changes. As you can see, we had additional seating, and then we were able to eliminate a few of the items as listed in that mini spreadsheet. Drish Construction has completed the above referenced work according to the plans and specifications. In addition to the approval of this, change order 1 in this action will accept the project as complete and will authorize payment and release of all retainage in the amount of $17,358.
Okay, any questions for Larry about this?
I guess I just comment, Larry, that even prior to the last election, this was an issue that was of a lot of concern to residents and people in general. So it's nice to see this completed and a project well done.
Okay, ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Resolution number 208, 2016, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving final pay request for the Lambourne Storm Sewer Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 208, 2016.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Yeah. Go ahead, Larry.
This project was awarded to DC Plumbing and Excavating of Drakesville, Iowa on February 16th, 2016. The project consisted of separation of a combined sanitary and storm system on Lambourne Street by installing 4 intakes at approximately 116 linear foot of pipe. Change order 1 decreases the contract sum by $474.79 for quantity adjustments. DC Plumbing and Excavating of Drakesville, Iowa has completed the above reference work according to the plans and specifications, and it authorize payment and release of retainage.
Okay, any questions for Larry? All right, take the roll.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Larry, before we go on to the next item, I was just, somebody asked recently about the 25-year consent decree that we have with the EPA. Can you give us just a ballpark figure of what we have spent to date on that project? Grant money and everything combined. I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that that is infrastructure work that's done underground and people don't appreciate, but we have spent a lot of money doing that, most coming from the federal and state. Can you give us just an estimate? I'm not going to hold you to that.
I think with everything including plant, street requirement work above the storm systems, we're right at 70 million.
That's something that I think we sometimes forget to share with the public, but $70 million a few years, and we still have another 35 million to go.
Correct.
Just keep that in perspective. Thanks, Larry.
Mayor, if I may, I think not only though what you're mentioning, federal and state, Larry, back when, we also raised sewer rates, water a couple of years in a row and put a little bit of a burden on residents that this is how we've gotten it all accomplished by our doing our part also.
Good point. Good point. Okay, let's move on to the next item.
Resolution number 209, 2016, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving final pay request for the North Court Reconstruction Project. Recommendation, pass and adopt resolution number 209, 2016.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This project consisted of full-width, full-depth PC reconstruction of North Court from Albany to Maple Street. Change order 1 decreases the contract sum by $6,492.89 for quantity adjustments. DC construction of Dowds, Iowa was completed the above reference work according to the plans and specifications, and this will authorize payment and release of all retainages.
Any questions for Larry on that? Glad that that's finally completed. If not, let's take the roll.
Councilmember Myers,
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens,
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Thank you, Larry. We'll move down to item J, petitions and communications. I want to bring the council up to date on a couple of things. First of all, World Series is going very well, and I want to thank the planners and the Little League Board of Directors for their hard work. We've had very good comments from the parents and the coaches and the teams who are participating this week. It's been a great event for our community. We also just got word today, and nothing we need to talk about tonight, but just to plant the seed and have you think about, there's been a move to actually relocate the Ferber sculpture from Highway 63 and Woodland Avenue over to the Bridgeview Center. And we now have some documentation that the city of Ottumwa does own that piece of sculpture, And so we're working with the Arts Council and the Bridgeview Center to see that that gets done sometime in the next several months, a year perhaps. But it's been the recommendation of UNI to relocate it to the Bridgeview Center. They think that's a more prominent place and people will actually be able to see it and go up and touch it and be around it, and more people will have the opportunity to explore with it. And then lastly, I talked with Chief McAndrew this week and several of the council. I'm aware, and I think most of you are aware, of the shortage of dispatch personnel. And I think the council needs to have a work session or a special meeting to really dig into the details, because it's not a simple issue. He's made us aware of some of the stress that his personnel are going through, and it may require something. Bob will have to work with the city finance department to look at a budget adjustment or maybe amendment to cover this, because it is serious enough that we're going to have to find a way to finance some additional personnel. Just want you to be thinking about that as we talk about special meetings and upcoming things. Okay, item K, public forum. This is opportunity for people to comment on any item. We do have a request from John Thomas. And so, John, if you'd come up and make your comments, identify yourself.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name's John Thomas. I'm a business agent for Teamsters Local 238. A lot of you folks might know Dale Walter, who bargains and represents the public works. I do the same thing Dale does. I represent the police department and the dispatchers. I was going to come to you tonight. I met with the dispatchers this afternoon about the concern over personnel and some shortage and kind of the burdens and stress that's placing on those left to do it. Met with Chief McAndrew earlier today, and then got some good news this afternoon that sounded like our concerns had been heeded. And so I appreciate the mayor, or I'm not sure who I appreciate taking the mayor, his comments showing the fact that the city is willing to step forward. You might need to do a special council meeting, work session, whatever you need from us. We're here to help. We talked this afternoon with the dispatchers about really what were the issues, how do we find those right people. I'm excited to say that your recent testing, you now have a new civil service list, and they are very, very excited about some of the personnel on that list. They came in and they did some sit-ins, and they really feel like they have some good candidates. The key with any civil service list is to grab those candidates before somebody else snags them, because good people are hard to find. So I won't bore you with the details of how bad we need them. It sounds like that need has been recognized. Just know the employees and myself, I represent 31 public safety contracts, so I have lots of ideas of what other agencies do because I represent dispatchers in numerous other counties and cities across the state. But we appreciate you hearing our need. We look forward to working with you to fill that need. We really are at a tipping point where should somebody get severely ill or be involved in a motor vehicle accident, God forbid, we're really at that point where we need to fill those positions tomorrow. So thank you very much, but I'll take anybody's question.
Before you step back from the podium, I want to give the council a chance to ask any questions. I would certainly ask a couple too. Go ahead, Mark.
We had discussed this issue yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I think that pretty much everybody would probably agree that, you know, public safety is first on everybody's agenda. So, you know, that's something that we all take very seriously, and I can assure you that we're all going to be looking at every way possible to make sure that there's some new bodies sitting there and hopefully taking some of the pressure off of those dispatchers that are already employed there.
Well, they're all here and they're happy to hear that. They wanted you to know that this does matter to them. I guess I want you folks to know too that Ottumwa is not isolated in this problem. I represent West Des Moines, which is Westcom, which is all the metro agencies. We also represent Polk County and Marshall County. Everybody is having a hard time getting good people, but this is an especially especially difficult job with the amount of multitasking it requires. And there's a lot of stress being on the other end of a phone. So I very much appreciate the attention this is getting from the city council.
Well, I would hope that when we have this discussion, and we certainly want to reach out to you and your people that you represent, Andy and I had the chance to visit with another community recently. I think there are some things we ought to explore, interoperability and some of those fancy words, but you know, we're getting to the point where technology is such that we need to be on the same equipment, the same channel, and be able to talk to all of our public safety people. And I don't remember the gentleman's name now. I have it in my notes down at the office. He had some very good ideas, and there are grants available and some things we could do to speed this process up. So we'll look for some leadership from you folks, and we'll try to work with you.
Whatever we can do to help. And like I said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel because other groups that we work with have already done it. So I'm all about stealing what works in somebody else's backyard and using it here.
That's great. Good. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Is there any other communication or any other issue that the council wants to bring to our attention for future meetings or other discussions?
Connie.
Oh, Connie, come on up. I didn't see you stand up. Sorry.
Wallflower that I am. Yes, Connie Hammersley Wilson, Executive Director of the Ottumwa Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to invite everybody. The mayor will be judging tomorrow along with some other wonderful people for the World Series Iron Chef competition. We have the 10 teams that can cook, and it'll take place at the Jimmy Jones Shelter House. The first one will be at 10 a.m. The second one will be at 12 p.m., and that will be an all Ottumwa competition. So that should be a lot of fun. All of our Ottumwa boys will be competing. So these are the World Series teams. These are, we practiced this morning at Indian Hills Community College. They've been teaching the boys how to do this and the process and the foods. Our pork producers have donated pork for us, and the community gardens here in Ottumwa have donated all the fresh produce. Fairway, Hy-Vee, everybody's been on board and been wonderful. So I appreciate everybody, and if you could come out and please cheer us on, we would greatly appreciate having that support for the World Series kids. So, and thank you, community, for all the things that you've done for this event. We appreciate it very much. Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I have one more request here tonight. You know, it's rare that we ever get a chance to get a whole department at a council meeting other than the department heads. But while we're talking about dispatch and some of the issues we're having with them, we got, you know, many of our dispatchers here in the council chambers tonight in the back. I think it would be a good step in the right direction if we identify our dispatchers and probably give them a round of applause for the work they do. You know, like we said tonight, it is not an easy job. They multitask, they take calls. Some of them, you know, very, you know, life-threatening calls and have to do all this stuff. And so none of us know really what they go through every day. So I think if we could have the chief introduce maybe our dispatchers and then give them a round of applause at the end for the work they do day in and day out. We're very proud of what you do, and thank you for doing what you do every day.
I'll have them come on up.
Don't be shy.
I'll let them introduce themselves and tell you how long they've been with.
Great.
Chris Munley, and I've been there about 17.
I'm Amber Paul. I've been there for 9.
Awesome.
Lynn Dively, I've been there 30 years.
Good deal. Wow.
And Brenda Bennett, 31 years.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
And we assume somebody is manning the phone tonight.
I think we have one other dispatcher that's working right now.
Thank you all very much, and we do greatly appreciate, because public safety is probably the most important thing the city is really charged with providing to the citizens, along with streets and sewers and everything else. But public safety is really important, so thank you very much.
That's all.
Appreciate it. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens?
Yes.
Councilmember Strebe?
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
And I have at 6:21.